this deal is based on a compromise come up with by Germany, which holds the EU's rotating presidency at the moment. It adds an explanatory statement to the mechanism, which on one part says that it shouldn't be used politically or arbitrarily, and on the other part, it says that it shouldn't be invoked until all countries have had the chance to challenge its legality at the European Court of Justice. Poland and Hungary eventually said this would be acceptable, so did the countries that had a very hard line on this rule of law mechanism. The key reason why, the mechanism itself hasn't been touched. This is a statement that's being added to the mechanism. And while the big proponents of the mechanism are not very happy about this statement, the fact is its legal validity is kind of questionable. So it gives the Polish and Hungarian prime ministers a piece of paper to wave when they return to their capitals and say, look, we got this concession from Brussels. Especially, that was really necessary after they've ratcheted up the rhetoric on this issue so much over the past months. But in the end, it's unclear how much this will really protect them from this mechanism. Some have said that this court challenge could last 1 year, maybe 2 years. That could theoretically take Viktor Orban, Hungary's prime minister, through to the next election, so he wouldn't be facing bad news over the loss of EU funds before the next time he has to go in front of voters. But European Justice Commissioner Vera Jourova said last night that she expects that such a challenge would only take a couple months, not years. So certainly the proof will be in the pudding here about what this explanatory statement is, but it has enabled for the budget to be agreed, so the 1.8 trillion euro budget will take effect on January 1st as it was supposed to. That will be in effect till 2027, and probably more importantly in the short term, the 750 billion coronavirus recovery fund, part of that budget, and really history making because it will for the first time mutualize EU debt. The EU will be borrowing money for that fund using the credit of all EU countries. That will also take effect as planned January 1st. So it is a huge relief for the German presidency and I think for the EU as a whole.
And Dave, the summit has been going through the night. What's been keeping everyone up?
Yeah, they may have reached a deal on the budget, but they are actually still talking right now because they're having a fight over a 2030 climate target. For the first part of the night, they were talking about sanctions against Turkey. They did agree to start the process on those sanctions, although they won't take a decision until March. But on climate, they are being kept up by a Polish veto, yet another Polish veto. This veto by Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki is, I think, the fourth veto that Poland has used against a climate measure. The last time Morawiecki refused to sign off on the EU's 2050 climate target to completely reduce emissions down to net zero by 2050. In the end, the EU adopted that target without Poland and just moved on. And actually, in the ensuing months, Poland has quietly, effectively signed up to that target. Could that be what happens here in the early hours of this morning? We'll see. The thing is, the EU really needs to adopt this target tonight because tomorrow is a ceremony marking the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. And if the EU shows up to that ceremony with a 2030 target that is not in line with its Paris Agreement commitments to reduce emissions, that will be very embarrassing. The proposal is to raise the 2030 target from 40% emissions reduction to 55% emissions reductions. We thought this was in the bag. We thought that as long as they agreed the budget, they were going to get an agreement on this 2030 climate package. But reportedly, Mateusz has told the other prime ministers in the room that if he returns to Warsaw without major concessions on this 2030 climate issue, he's going to lose his job because he made this concession on the budget. He can't come back to Warsaw having made 2 concessions. So they're seeing what they can offer him. Right now, he's asking to keep profits from the EU emissions trading system, which would be quite hefty because the carbon price is at an all-time high right now. That would probably, I'm told, that should get Poland past the veto, but countries are very, very skeptical about this. It's an EU system. That money is not meant to go to national budgets. It's meant to go to the EU budget. And they're worried that that money would actually be used to prop up the coal industry, which would defeat the purpose of the emissions trading system, of course. Poland, on the other hand, says it needs financial financial help to be able to make the energy transition. Because it is so coal dependent, it needs more funds. It's already been given funds, though, in this new just transition mechanism that the Commission offered Poland in the first place to get it to approve the 2050 target, which it never did. So that's the frustration here. The other countries feel like they keep giving Poland more money, and then Poland vetoes anyway. So they are really going down to the line here. I'm not sure if we will have an agreement on 2030 by the end of the night, or by the end of the morning.
Dave Keating in Brussels, thank you very much.